It was 2:17 p.m. on an otherwise forgettable Tuesday when my phone buzzed with a notification that froze the blood in my veins. Activity band Emily track has synced with new Apple ID, CoachDrew. Emily, my girlfriend of 5 years, the woman who kept our apartment stocked with LaCroix and whose laughter filled every silence, had never mentioned a Drew. My stomach twisted so hard I tasted battery acid. I tapped into the fitness app out of pure reflex. There it was, a bright green, shared workouts tile showing a session labeled, "Hit with CoachDrew." GPS tags placed them at the Equinox in downtown Denver, exactly where Emily was supposed to be on a 3-day marketing conference. I zoomed in on the route map, heart punching my ribs. The warm-up jog left the hotel at 6:02 a.m., looped twice around Civic Center Park, then, like a final insult, ended at a Starbucks for a cool-down latte. The data felt intimate, almost obscene, like walking in on something I should never see. I tried to rationalize. Maybe CoachDrew was one of those virtual trainers Apple plugs into workouts? But the app listed him under friends, not trainers. I paged through the rest of her history and found a breadcrumb trail of early morning sessions with the same mysterious profile in Austin, San Diego, and Atlanta. Cities Emily had overnighted in for the same project pitch. Each workout ended in a different hotel, always logged before sunrise, always just the two of them. My mind spun images of sweaty hotel gyms, whispered encouragement, towels slung over shoulders, Emily's ponytail swishing as she laughed at one of his jokes. I'd never felt jealousy chew so viciously on the inside of my ribs. I snapped a screenshot, thumb hovering over her contact card, but no words formed. I closed the text window before I did something desperate like send an all-caps demand. Instead, I opened Reddit and spiraled through r/surviving infidelity threads, every post confirming my worst fear. Fitness buddies have a way of becoming something more when hotel keycards are involved. The room felt too small, the air too sticky. I needed proof, actual, physical, slap-me-in-the-face proof, before confronting her, because part of me still prayed this was a glitch. That night, I barely slept. By dawn, I was hunched over my laptop like a conspiracy theorist, cross-referencing conference schedules with her Apple Health timestamps. Denver matched. Austin matched. San Diego matched. Then I spotted an entry scheduled for Thursday. Circuit burn with CoachDrew. Geotagged to a Hilton in Boston. Emily had mentioned a quick stop in Boston for a one-on-one client dinner, a phrase that now crawled under my skin like ants. My cursor hovered over an airline site. Before I could overthink, I smashed purchase. I didn't tell Emily. What was I supposed to say? "Hey babe, picked up a spontaneous ticket so I can watch you grind burpees with some guy named Drew." During the flight, I replayed our last FaceTime. She'd looked tired, damp hair curling at the ends, hotel lamp casting warm light behind her. When I asked why she seemed wiped, she laughed it off. Early workout with a trainer from the gym here. Nothing exciting. Trainer. Singular. My jaw clenched remembering how effortlessly she'd lied. At Logan Airport, I grabbed a rideshare straight to the Hilton, pulse thumping like a bass line. I felt ridiculous lugging a carry-on stuffed with nothing but last night's jeans and the wrinkled shirt I left New York in, but adrenaline kept me upright. I camped in the lobby cafe nursing coffees I couldn't taste, eyes glued to the revolving door. At 5:52 a.m., right on schedule, Emily strode in wearing charcoal leggings and the lavender tank I'd bought her for Christmas, ponytail bobbing. My chest stuttered. A tall figure walked beside her, board straight posture, broad shoulders, hoodie up but unmistakably male. Hoodie guy pressed something on his Apple Watch. Emily mirrored the motion, and both screens flashed green. I snapped pictures with my phone, hands shaking so hard the frame blurred. They approached the front desk. I stood, heart ricocheting, and made my move, weaving between suitcase-dragging guests until I was 3 feet away. "Emily?" She whipped around. Her face paled, eyes widening in a way I'd never seen. Fear, shock, maybe both. Hoodie guy turned too. The lobby's LED lights hit his face, and my breath snagged. His features were weirdly smooth, almost plastic, his eyes impossibly glassy, like Pixar rendered in real life. For a half-second, I thought prosthetics accident? Then he flickered. Actually flickered before re-solidifying, pixels shimmering at his jawline. Gasps rippled through the early morning crowd. A receptionist dropped her pen, mouth hanging open. Emily's voice cracked. "Michael, wait, this isn't what you think." She dragged me toward a quiet corner, the hologram trailing behind like a patient dog. Up close, CoachDrew was detailed enough to show faint freckles on his nose, but his movements were too perfect, his feet never quite touching the carpet. Emily tapped her watch. He vanished in a spray of blue voxels. My knees buckled into an armchair. Emily knelt, eyes glistening. "I'm in stealth testing for a tourniquet," she whispered, throat tight. "We use motion capture of deceased athletes to create hyper-realistic training partners." My mind stuttered on the word deceased. Emily swallowed. "Drew was my brother. You know he died in that climbing accident 2 years ago." I did. The funeral playlist still haunted my playlists. She continued, voice trembling. "Our prototype needs live feedback in different cities, different signal conditions. I didn't tell you because the NDA is brutal." And I wasn't ready to open that wound again. Tears slid down her cheeks. The guilt hit so hard I rocked forward. All my furious theories, hotel trysts, sweaty whispers, breakfast in bed, evaporated, replaced by the image of Emily running side by side with a digital ghost of her big brother, chasing closure 1 mile at a time. She took my hand. "I should have trusted you, but I was scared revealing Drew would break me. Testing with strangers felt easier." A laugh sob burst from my throat, equal parts relief and shame. I squeezed her fingers. "Next time," I managed, voice thick, "let me be part of the test." Emily exhaled, the smallest smile breaking through. She tapped her watch again. Drew rematerialized, this time offering a 2-finger salute. The lobby, now reassured the hologram wasn't a bomb threat, resumed its sleepy bustle. I looked at the flickering avatar, jaw set exactly like Emily's, eyes that held the same spark, and felt the jealousy drain away, replaced by something stranger and deeper. Awe at how far love will go to keep the dead running alongside the living. The hotel lobby melted away behind us as Emily and I rode the elevator up to her room. Well, our room now, because the desk clerk, still pale from seeing a man glitch like bad Wi-Fi, quietly merged my reservation into hers. The doors slid shut, sealing us into that mirrored box where every fluorescent panel reflected how wrecked we both looked. I kept replaying the last 5 minutes. The moment Drew's freckles quivered like loose pixels. The way Emily's hand trembled when she grabbed mine. The shock hadn't worn off, but something steadier was rising to the surface, curiosity. Inside the room, she kicked off her sneakers and opened her laptop. Lines of code, actual Swift functions and Unity shaders, crowded the screen. "We log everything for latency," she said, fingers blurring across the keyboard. A live window showed Drew in his hoodie, idling in digital limbo. "I have to record today's sync before the back-end team flags an anomaly." Her voice was still a shade away from cracking, but the engineer in her had taken the wheel. I sat on the bed, thumb circling the faded scar on my wrist from college lacrosse, a habit whenever life went sideways. "Walk me through it," I said, partly to buy her time, partly because I needed the technical to anchor the emotional. Emily exhaled, clicked play on a demo reel. On screen, early prototypes of Drew sprinted across warehouse treadmills, his mesh skeleton laced with thousands of blue motion-captured dots. The timeline scrubbed back to real footage of 19-year-old Drew Baxter, long-haired, laughing, alive, hoisting a state championship trophy over his head. My chest tightened. "Stanford's Immersive Media Lab helped me extract his gait signature from home videos," she explained. "Our algorithm predicts missing motion T-frames, then renders him in real time using Apple's spatial computing SDK. Your phone saw him because my watch projected a shared AR overlay." I nodded like I understood half of that. What mattered was the string connecting every city. Emily waking in pre-dawn darkness to run beside her brother's ghost. "Why the hotel gym tour?" I asked. "Investors," she said. "We're pitching Eternifit at South by Southwest in 3 weeks. Drew has to perform flawlessly on any network stack, 5G, hotel Wi-Fi, even LTE dead zones. If latency spikes, he flickers and people freak." A humorless laugh. "Present company included." A notification chimed on her MacBook. Slack, legal, need decision on Boston incident ASAP. Emily's shoulders sagged. "I tripped the security alert bringing you into the test. Their algorithm assumes unauthorized exposure. They'll suspend me if I don't file an incident report." She looked at me, eyes glassy. "Suspension means no funding. No funding means Drew goes back to a hard drive." I'd once tried to fix a leaky radiator with duct tape. The hiss only stopped when I called a real plumber. Lessons. Do something right or destroy it worse, I swallowed. Then we file it, I said. All of it. Me, the confrontation, the lobby freakout. If the board wants honesty, give them honesty. Emily blinked, like that option had never crossed her risk assessment spreadsheet. They'll grill you on NDAs. I shrugged. Let them. I'll sign whatever. She drafted the report while I made coffee from the single-serve pods that always taste like toasted cardboard. When she finished, she turned the laptop so I could read. Her prose was clinical. Timestamps, GPS coordinates, technical logs. But between the lines, I saw her plea. I'm building something that matters. Please don't take it away. I added a paragraph from my point of view. Jealousy, suspicion, confrontation. The moment I realized Drew wasn't flesh, I ended with, the technology offers profound emotional benefit when used responsibly. I support ongoing development, contingent on transparent safeguards. My hands shook as I typed the last words, not from anger this time, but from the weight of vouching for her dream. She hit send. The reply landed 10 minutes later from someone named Sabrina K., Chief Compliance. Short and surgical. Incident acknowledged. Temporary suspension lifted pending full review. Continue field testing with approved partner. Approved partner? Emily reread the line, mouth parting. That's you, she whispered. They just conscripted you into QA. I snorted. So I'm a beta tester for my girlfriend's holographic brother? The absurdity broke the tension. We both laughed until tears blurred the screen. Another ping, calendar invite, tomorrow 6 a.m. Joint training session, Boston Common. The subject line included both our Apple IDs. Emily turned to me. You in? Her voice wobbled between hope and fear. I checked the time, 3:11 p.m. Plenty of hours to panic, not enough to back out. I clicked accept. Sleep proved useless. My brain projected highlights of every possible disaster. Drew glitching in front of morning joggers, reporters catching wind, compliance yanking funding anyway. At 5:40 a.m. we laced up, winds slicing off the Charles River. Emily tapped her watch. Blue polygons assembled. CoachDrew in front of us, hoodie swapped for a Celtics warm-up jacket. He grinned that Baxter grin, scanned me like a coach clocking freshman stats, and said, through spatial audio that felt piped straight into my skull, "Morning, Mike. Ready to shave a minute off that mile?" My breath hitched. Hearing him use my name compressed the distance between software artifact and person. We started at a trot. Drew set the pace, cadence steady, calling form cues the way a real trainer would. Relax the shoulders, drive the knees. Pedestrians stared, unable to see who I kept nodding at. Emily matched my stride, cheeks pink from the cold, eyes glistening with something fierce. Pride, maybe, or relief at finally sharing the secret. Halfway around the common, a phone camera flashed. A woman in a knit beanie lowered her iPhone, brow furrowed. My pulse spiked. Emily noticed. We're invisible on bystanders' devices unless they're whitelisted, she said, but doubt shadowed her face. 10 yards later, my phone buzzed. Airdrop request from unknown. What filter is that? A blurry photo showed me and Emily running, alone. Drew didn't render on her screen, but the AR occlusion meant our gazes and body angles hinted at a third presence. Freak level uncanny if you knew to look. We finished the 5K in record time and watched the analytics populate. Heart rate graphs, stride symmetry, VO2 estimates. Drew faded into pixel dust with a wink. I expected exhilaration. Instead, a cold knot tightened at my ribs. Technology this intimate didn't stay secret. Someone would monetize grief the way pharma monetizes pain. I caught Emily's eye. She read my worry like a heads-up display. Back in the hotel, Sabrina's name popped onto Emily's phone again. Need both of you at tomorrow's investor demo in New York. Mandatory. Below, a clipped addendum. Press leak last night about ghost trainers. Damage control protocol engaged. My jaw clenched. Leak? Emily scrolled a tech gossip site. Headline, Haunted Fitness. Boston joggers report mysterious third runner in AR scandal. The article quoted an anonymous former employee. Using dead relatives without explicit consent is unethical and probably illegal. Emily's lips pressed white. That's Taylor, she muttered. An ex-engineer fired for repeatedly missing QA deadlines. She's twisting it. I pulled up airline seats. Then we show investors the truth before rumor becomes religion. We booked the next shuttle to LaGuardia. While Emily compiled demo builds, I drafted talking points. Informed consent, opt-in data donation, psychological safeguards. Words had never felt so heavy. I was writing policy for a future where avatars could outlive memories. On the flight, Emily slept, forehead against my shoulder. I watched clouds crawl beneath us and for a moment pictured Drew sprinting across their tops, feet kicking vapor. I realized jealousy had been replaced by something more complicated, a desire to protect both Emily and her project from a world that would either worship or weaponize it. Landing in Queens, we were met by a black SUV courtesy of the VC firm. Midtown traffic glittered with skyscraper reflections. It felt like stepping onto a chessboard where every taxi was a potential leak, every billboard a headline waiting to ambush. Tomorrow, we'd stand in front of venture capitalists and journalists, selling the idea that death didn't have to mean goodbye. Emily squeezed my hand as the car crawled up 7th Avenue. "Thank you," she said, voice barely audible over honking horns. "Not just for coming, but for believing." I thought about the moment her bracelet synced with CoachDrew, the venomous rush of betrayal, and how easily I could have torched everything with a single accusation. I squeezed back. "Belief is a marathon," I said. "Good thing I've got a coach now." The SUV rolled to a stop beneath a glass tower. Tomorrow's demo could either secure millions in funding or bury the company in scandal. Either way, I realized we'd crossed our personal Rubicon. Trust wasn't just a promise between two living people anymore. It extended to the ghosts we carried, and to the code that might keep them running beside us long after the flesh gave out. The demo floor sat on the 52nd story of a midtown tower so new the elevator still smelled like drywall dust. Inside the glass-walled ballroom, rows of white standing desks bristled with Vision Pro headsets, iPads showing biometric dashboards, and a banner that read, "Eternifit. Train with the people you miss." Investors in tailored blazers milled around sipping cold brew lattes, eager to watch the first public run of Project Drew. Sabrina waved us over, her clipboard a shield against the tension rippling through the room. "Taylor's leak is trending on X. We've got one shot to reset the narrative," she said, sliding 2 visitor lanyards into our hands. "Stick to the script. Voluntar wide data donation. Patent pending privacy vault. Strictly opt-in." Her gaze flicked to me. "You ready, approved partner?" I nodded, though my palm was clammy around the watch. Emily had fast paired to my account overnight. She'd coded an override that let me pull Drew on stage if things went south. A new push alert blinked. Demo build 3.2 deployed. Latency baseline 42 milliseconds. Good, but if network congestion spiked above 60 milliseconds, Drew would stutter like a scratched DVD. At 10:06 a.m., the lights dimmed and Emily stepped into the halo of a spotlight. She began with Drew's story. State champ running back, big brother, mentor, gone at 24 in a climbing fall near Yosemite. A giant LED wall behind her showed blurred family photos, then his motion capture mesh rotating in neon blue. Murmurs softened to silence. Emily's voice stayed steady until she reached the sentence I'd helped her craft. "Grief steals our training partners, so we built a way to borrow them back, only with their consent, or the legal guardians, and always under encrypted lock and key." 2 rows back, I caught a journalist nodding, jotting consent protocol into a tablet. Then, somewhere near the refreshment bar, a phone screen flashed red. A live stream notification. Exclusive. Ghost tech fraud. Taylor had hacked the guest Wi-Fi and was broadcasting herself in split screen with a lawyer claiming biometric necromancy violated federal privacy statutes. Gasps fluttered like dominoes. The LED wall behind Emily flickered, momentarily exposing the Unix shell piping logs in real time. Latency ticked to 58 milliseconds. Too close. Emily hesitated. A bead of sweat carved a track down her temple. Investors murmured, phones rising like periscopes trained on a potential crash. This was the moment jealousy would have hollowed me out a day ago. Now all I felt was an iron resolution not to let her stand alone. I tapped the side button of the borrowed Apple Watch. Inject avatar? Flashed. I hit yes. Pixel fireflies swarmed next to Emily, coalescing into Drew in full varsity green, a football balanced on one fingertip. He caught it, grinned at the crowd and said, "Coach Drew Baxter, class of 23. Permission to spot?" The exact line he'd once used on Emily the first day he taught her deadlifts. A hush swept the hall, deeper than before, because the voice wasn't a synthetic approximation. It was Drew's, sampled from videos, harmonics rebuilt by machine learning vocoders and stamped with legal clearance from his parents. He turned, looked straight into the livestream camera Taylor held up like a dagger, and added, "I gave my sister my blessing, in writing, 2 months before my last climb. Roll the doc, Em." Emily swallowed, remote clicked, and legal PDFs slid onto the LED wall. Drew's signed consent, notarized, timestamped. Latency fell to 37 milliseconds as network chatter refocused on the official feed rather than Taylor's rogue stream. The system auto-corrected like a heartbeat, recovering from an arrhythmia. Sabrina exhaled so sharply papers fluttered on her clipboard. Drew spun the football once, then tossed it underhand toward the first row. A venture partner wearing Allbirds reached instinctively, the ball phasing through his hands in a shimmer of voxels that dispersed into the Eternifit logo above the stage. Laughter, genuine this time, rolled across the room. Emily's shoulders released a month of tension. She closed with, "Eternifit isn't about replacing the people we lost. It's about honoring their drive, their love, their ability to push us past our limits." Applause erupted, measured at first, then rising until the floor vibrated under my sneakers. Sabrina's watch pinged, term sheet V1 incoming, Sandstone Capital. 4 other firms followed within minutes. The journalist who'd nodded earlier slipped me a card. "Would love comment from the fiancé." "Fiancé?" I blinked, then realized Emily had introduced me backstage as her partner in every sense. The word felt both premature and natural, like a muscle memory I didn't know I'd built. After the formalities, Drew saluted and dissolved. Investors queued for headset trials, journalists peppered Emily with ethics questions. Sabrina orchestrated NDAs like a symphony conductor. I stepped to a quiet corner where floor-to-ceiling glass framed Central Park in miniature. My phone buzzed, a final push notification, shared workout scheduled. Tomorrow 05:30, Reservoir Loop with Emily and Drew. I tapped accept without hesitation. Outside, yellow cabs stitched the avenues together like veins. Inside, somewhere between grief and code, we'd stitch something else back into place. Emily slipped beside me, fingers threading through mine. "Looks like we're funded," she whispered, eyes bright and exhausted. I nodded toward the park. "Better start training then. Raising the dead's going to take endurance." She laughed, truly laughed, and for the first time since that dreaded Tuesday notification, I felt the future arrive not as a threat but as an open road measured in miles, heartbeats, and the phantom footsteps of a brother who would never really stop running.